Hello there, football fans. Welcome to the Mercurial Trequartistas Gamecast, your weekly dose of Premier League passion, predictions, and proper football talk. By way of introduction, I'm Tatan, and joining me is the man with an eye for form, flaws, and future stars. A bit like Opta with a great sense of humour. Mark, how are we feeling?
With one eye. Some people believe I have two.
Are you feeling better on that front? All good?
I've still got another appointment to go, but yeah, they seem to be mostly happy with how that's going. But it does
Wonderful.
give me an excuse for if I have any sort of mishits, worldy goals, flukes, anything like that on the pitch now. I've got the perfect excuse for.
I'm very glad to hear that you're feeling better. So, what's on the menu today? We will start with Premier League talking points. We will then move on to our second segment, which is fantasy football tips for the weekend ahead. And we will round things off with our third section, the obscure facts segment, our hidden gem that's slowly turning into a must-watch segment, a bit like Phil Foden finally unleashed this season. So let's start with Premier League talking points. Diving straight into it, as always, many things to talk about. What we'd like to talk about first is the art of succession. So Pep has stated this week that Man City must be prepared to make provisions for his eventual departure and the appointment of a successor. Now, we can talk about who will specifically take over from Pep at a more appropriate time. But what I do want is for us to focus on the art of succession in football management. In recent years, who do you think has got it right and who's got it wrong? Not just in the Premier League, but even beyond as well.
I mean, it's difficult enough, isn't it, finding the next manager. Usually, when a new manager's coming in, it's because the club's already in trouble. It's probably even more difficult when there's been a manager there that's been so successful, won a load of stuff, and then and has been there a prolonged amount of time. So it's probably arguably that could be tougher because there's more pressure on you to hit the ground running. Man United in recent history after Ferguson probably did it the wrong way, bouncing from manager to manager. Uh, and the strange thing is with them, they've done it before. They did exactly the same thing when Busby left and bounced from manager to manager. So they had even more experience of replacing a long-term boss. Wenger, Wenger's been at Arsenal a while. They probably jumped too soon on removing Emery because we've seen since when he's come to other clubs, he's been incredibly good at Sevilla and now Villa. Probably the most successful in sort of modern football. You probably are looking at sort of the Liverpool trio post Shankly, going from Paisley, Fagan, Dalglish, three managers back to back, and success continued throughout all three of their reigns. So it is a tough job, tough act to follow. Can be done, but yeah, it's an awkward one. It is an awkward one.
I think you're very right, and the points I was going to make, it concerned the club identity and the internal structure of the club. And the old, well, you mentioned the trio of Liverpool post Shankly. At the time, the club it was very well placed because it had all these things in place. But with City, I think the club is well structured. And, it's the club that defines the team style of play and their operations. Every department internally is aligned, so any discussion of a successor, that it will be strategic and not reactive. And it's exactly the same thing today at Liverpool. So the club is stable. They have a footballing identity that's clearly been bought by Jurgen Klopp, but they also have an excellent corporate structure. So the move from Klopp to Slot, it's clearly demonstrated that they will move on and survive beyond any number of managers. So what Liverpool have built is a data-driven structure-first juggernaut. What Slot has inherited here is not just a team, it's not just a mess, but it's a system. And players that are bought into this system, they span the youth teams all the way up to the first team. I think FSG have done things with a great deal of intelligence and acumen, and the club will reap the benefits of this model for decades. And City have done something quite similar. Just two other quick points. So always plan well before the decline. You mentioned Fergie and Wenger. At the time, I don't think um, Arsenal or Man United, they had a stable infrastructure or an outstanding squad. So the people that came after them, so it was Moyes in the case of Fergie and Emery, he followed Wenger. They found it difficult. The final point to make is that you can go and hire the biggest name in the world, but without internal alignment, it doesn't guarantee success. Just drawing the example of PSG, they've had a ton of coaches in recent times. So from memory, I think they've had Emery as well. Thomas Tuchel was with them, Pochettino and Christophe Galtier. So they've got Enrique now, and he's doing very well. He is offering them the level of success they claim. But when a club's identity is unclear, coaches just become sort of short-term fire extinguisher.
I mean, outside of the Premier League, probably a couple of examples. Got Dario Gradi at Crewe. He was at
Brilliant.
Crewe for
Yeah.
such a long time.
Yes.
When he went, they ended up being another manager. It didn't work out. He had to come back. He ended up having to return to the club. So, yeah, sometimes when they've been there a while, they still come back. Another example would probably be Ozair.
I was
I
just
mean,
about to say Giroud.
yeah,
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 great choice.
Shivu. Honestly, I mean, he puts Ferguson's reign to shame, and he was there 3 times. He literally came back twice, and in his third stint, he was only
Mm,
stopped by an emergency heart operation. I think it was a bypass, but he had a year, I think in 1961. Uh, Another manager came in. He comes back in 1964. He's there all the way till 2000. Goes away, and then comes back for another stint before the bypass issue.
mhm.
So, I mean, yeah,
Legend.
if you're looking for examples of longevity,
Yeah.
Giroux's your man.
There was also, I forget his name, but I think it was at Dynamo Kiev. I mean, he was like their version of Giroud. I saw an interview with him. This was in the 90s. He had been there a very, very long time, and he was the one who, again, a system implemented all the way from youth level up to the first team, and all the great players that they sort of brought through over the years, which were sold for huge profits to clubs in Europe. It was all down to him, but great character, great character.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine all the things you've seen in football? 1960s all the way to sort of like 2000 and beyond. He'd have seen some changes.
I think so. I think so. But we move on to our second story. So we touch on Sheffield Wednesday once more. So this is an update on a story that we have covered in recent weeks, and it concerns the very grand and old English club steeped in history, Sheffield Wednesday. So they are finally close to a takeover. To my understanding, there are two bidders that remain. Mike Ashley and the joint American group led by a chap called John McAvoy and the Stork family. Now, Mark, I don't know anything about John McAvoy and the Stork family. We don't know if they're going to be more FSG or Hicks and Gillette. But Mike Ashley, we do know an awful lot about. He's been around English football for an awful long time. Thoughts?
Yeah, Mike Ashley. Don't do it Wednesday. Oh my word. No, no.
Oh,
I would look the other way. I don't know if you've ever read Kevin Keegan's autobiography, but his chapters on his second stint at Newcastle under Mike Ashley. That should be a warning to any club. Go and read that book and run for the hills. I'd be taking that other offer very, very seriously elsewhere. But yeah, I mean, it was a disaster zone at Newcastle, and the stuff that Keegan was having to put up with. Uh, no, don't do it. It's not worth it. Not worth it. There's better offers out there.
well, let's see. I mean, to my understanding, I think it's to do with the administrator. They will decide. But and if the new owner, if they pay less than I think I read £35 million, Wednesday will still be in breach of insolvency rules, and it could lead to a further 15 points loss of points. So that's for next season. And assuming they aren't in the championship, that would really hamstring their efforts to sort of get back into the championship. So it's difficult. And also, To my understanding, the Owls, they will face a great deal of expenditure to get Hillsborough and the training ground up to modern standards. So there's costs associated with that. But you've hit the nail on the head with Mike Ashley to say he was unpopular with the Newcastle faithful. That would be a massive, massive understatement. The fans really didn't like him. But being fair and calling things down the line, which we always try to do, in a way, he did have a rep for running the club well within its means. And for Sheffield Wednesday, perhaps that's what they need for a few seasons at least. But we wish them well. They are such a grand old club, as we've just said. So let's hope that they move forward well in the months ahead.
I mean, obviously, survival's the main thing for the club. You don't want to see a club with that history go down. But yeah, I'd sort of look at sort of Ashley's time at the Toon with a lot of skepticism. Uh, I mean, at one point, didn't they take Keegan to court as well, and all this kind of thing? You're taking club legends to court. You're signing players off YouTube. I'd like to think there were there's other options.
So club legends, so like Des Walker and David Hurst, beware.
If they end up managing the club, you never know.
We move on to story number three. So it's about Thomas Frank, who unfortunately he's under pressure once more. So we touched on Frank a few weeks ago. We spoke about his style of play and how perhaps the Spurs fans have taken a bit of time to get used to him. But Spurs have just won. I think it's one of their last seven league matches, which is not the best record. They were recently beaten 3-0 by Sean Dyche's Forest. I think the team sit 11th in the Premier League with 22 points at the moment from 16 games. It's not a great return. I know it's still early days for Frank and his tenure, but where do you think they're going, Mark?
I mean, when Frank came on, he was already walking into chaos. The team qualifies for the Champions League, underperforms in the league, and Postecoglou ends up going despite probably getting what would have been maybe a little bit above the club expectations for that year. There's probably not many that would have thought he'd have him qualifying for the Champions League or getting in the top four, but he did it through the Europa route, and yeah, and then they still got rid. I think Frank's one of those managers where it will come good, but he does need time. He needed time to build his team at Brentford, and when he did, they were incredibly good at what they were doing. There's open dissent going on now on the pitch. Fans are unhappy. Uh, I think these are things that he probably has to stop before they develop into worse situations. But for all the criticism, they're still quite handily placed in the Champions League. There's criticism of the style of play, but it's working against some of the good teams in Europe. The Premier League is incredibly open right now. Any team can beat anybody, and we've been saying get a few wins together, and positions in the league just they can change rapidly. It's so tight, all the way from sort of like third to what 16, 17. It wouldn't take much to get them back up the table. Too early to panic. He certainly hasn't had enough transfer windows to get players in. He's got to work
Mm.
with what he's got there. Unfortunately, I think some of the players probably need to look at what they're doing. I think there's a few players there that are underperforming. I don't think it's on the manager.
You're spot on. And if results had been slightly better, so perhaps the Spurs faithful, they would have taken a bit more to sort of him as a coach. But that can change rapidly, as you say, because there's not that much difference in between where they are and just slightly higher where Spurs want to be. And also, I just think Spurs in the last few years, they've chopped and changed so much. Daniel Levy isn't there anymore. And rather than being like Chelsea back in the day or the way that Real Madrid still sort of change managers, Spot of patience with a person who's clearly a talented coach. It wouldn't go amiss for the club. A bit of stability. So he needs to be given a chance, a bit more time. Yeah, let's see how it goes. Right, so there you have it. Roughly as many opinions as a better than average Jose Mourinho press conference. We will, of course, keep an eye on these stories in the weeks ahead. We move on to the second segment in today's podcast. So it's the fantasy football section. Mark, over to you. Thoughts this week?
Okay, well, this week I played Howland FC and smashed them. I came in with an 88-point haul this week.
I
Uh,
saw that. Hugely impressive.
yeah, not even Haaland captained for the other team could take that down. I had Saka triple captain, so he came in with 33. But even outside of that, I still like Ekitike bringing in the
Yes.
brace.
Yeah.
So even Waltemar scored in the wrong net, couldn't stop. 88 points. It might have been more. I'm happy with that. So yeah, sort of closing the gap
Yeah.
on the rest of the bunch, and hopefully the run can continue. I've no doubt I'll be playing Howland FC again this week.
Well, the way things are going, Spurs might be calling on you shortly. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, but would they want Saka playing for them?
Definitely not. That would be unpalatable to their fans and to the Arsenal faithful as well. But
There we go. So maybe not for me.
I'll
I mean,
just run through.
I'm
So.
open to offers.
Well, stranger things have happened in football, so you never know. But I just need you to promise that if you do take over at Spurs, you've still got to do the podcast. Uh,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah. No,
absolutely.
yeah. The entire Premier League fixture list will have to work around our shooting schedule.
I'll just run through key players and sort of key games this week that sort of might be worth people thinking about. So we have Newcastle v Chelsea. So for Newcastle, I think the player to go for is Malik Thiaw. He had 22 DEFCONs versus Sunderland, and he scored a brace recently. So if he scores again, great choice. For Chelsea, Cole Palmer, he is really hitting a bit of form, so he's the one to go for. City v West Ham, it's all about the strikers here, I think. There's Cherky and Foden for City, both great picks, and the mighty Jared Bowen for West Ham. He's always one to go for. Then it's Wolves versus Brentford. I want to pick out Kevin Schade. I think he's been among Brentford's top attacking contributors recently. He's one to go for. Spurs versus Liverpool this evening. So Ekitike and Verts, they're the ones to go for in terms of Liverpool. So Ekitike, I think he scored 4 goals in the last 2 weeks. He's in a rich vein of form. Verts has created 9 chances in the last 4 weeks, and he's also earned DEFCON points. He's showing his value, and he's finally finding his feet in the Premier League, which we knew he would. Everton v Arsenal, it's a mixture of defenders and strikers. So Michael Keane for Everton, Jurien Timber for Arsenal would be my picks. And you've already mentioned him, the mighty Saka. 13 chances created in the last 6 game weeks. He's one to go for. Leeds versus Palace, DCL, Dominic Calvert-Lewin is playing very, very well. He scored 4 goals, I think, in the last 4 weeks. I've got him in my team at present, and the mighty Mark Gahey. Everyone should have Mark Gahey in the team. Big, big fan. And very quickly on Sunday, there's only one game which I was a bit surprised about, but I guess in the build up to Christmas, that's normal. So it's Villa versus Man United. So Rodgers for Villa. Cunha is the one to go for Man United. 16 shots in the last 2 game weeks. He will start scoring. And finally, Fulham versus Forest on Monday evening. The one to go for is Harry Wilson. Like Ekitike, a very rich vein of form. Go for him. Okay, we move on to segment three, the obscure facts segment. So, 3 facts as per usual. First of these is the goalkeeper who scored from his own box. So, in 2013, Stoke goalkeeper Asimir Begovic scored an extraordinary goal from inside his own penalty area. 13 seconds into the match against Southampton, his long clearance flew downfield, bounced awkwardly, and looped over the opposing keeper, who was Art Boruk. So the strike travelled 19.19 metres and it earned Begovic the Guinness World Record for the longest goal ever scored in professional football. It's just part of Premier League folklore. I mean, all of us have seen it, all of us know about it. It's the kind of thing you talk about in the pub with old friends, but yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I mean, what a hit! I mean, Stoke always had sort of, people going, "Oh, it's direct football, it's long ball leveled at them." I mean, you can't take it further than that. Just go with the keeper and miss out the rest of the team. I want to know if he was shooting though. Was he shooting?
I think I might be wrong, but I heard a rumor that he used to try and practice this on the training ground because they knew that he had an extraordinarily long kick. So I think the hope was in and amongst the Stoke team that one day it would come off, and it certainly did. But on the subject of Stoke, I mean, have you seen the adverts? Well, sorry, like Stoke back then, I should say. So the advert with Big Sam, Pardew, and Tony Pulis, where they are lounging on sort of a beach somewhere or next to some pool, and they are reminiscing about their time in the Premier League. I don't know if you've seen it at all.
I have seen the advert, but it didn't click with me what they're advertising. I think I must have. I either missed the end or I didn't sort of pick up any of the clues. But yeah, no, it was good. Good chuckle, good laugh there.
I still say it's time for all three of them to sort of come back to the Prem for like one final tilt. That's a bit of glory, but let's see. Let's see. The second obscure fact is that a referee scored an own goal in 1972. So this was a match in Brazil's lower league. So during the course of play, the ref accidentally he deflected the ball into the net. So the goal stood under the rules of the time. Players protested vehemently, but they had to accept it, and laws were later clarified and amended to exclude officials from scoring. It remains one of football's strangest goals, and I couldn't find any more information about that. But yeah, it was just
Yeah.
odd, weird.
I mean, it's going back to the day when the referee was considered a piece of football equipment, like the crossbar or the post, so it could literally go in off the referee. I think if you're in the way of a shot and you're deflecting it into the goal, I mean, questions need to be asked over your positioning. I mean, should you really be in a goalmouth scramble? But I think I think it was a goal. I think it was a goal in South America. And I don't know whether it was this one where they did change the rule because the referee literally kicks it into the net.
Mhm.
So yeah, a little bit on the dodgy side. But I think the rule ended up being tweaking. So if the last touch was off the referee and it went in the goal, it can't stand. And that's been extended to if the ball actually touches the referee now and another team gain possession, you get, uncontested drop ball to the team that had possession. So yeah, interesting. I'm sure there's a few strange ones over the years, but
We, we will hunt them out. I'm sure we will.
yeah,
Yeah,
I still call foul on the positioning. There's no way a referee should be in the way of a shot for me.
I agree. I agree. And the third obscure fact is about the longest penalty shootout in football history. So it took place in Namibia in 2005. So it was the KK Palace versus the Civics, and it produced a shootout of 48 penalties. KK Palace eventually won 17-16, and the match was part of a domestic cup competition called the NFA Cup. The Guinness World Records, they recognised it as the longest shootout at the time, and I think that record still stands. It's tough. I mean, mentally, a penalty shootout is just nerve-wracking. It really is. It's a bit like a tie-breaking tennis. You've got to sort of get into a different mindset to the normal course of playing a set or two.
If it's bad enough taking one penalty in the shootout, but if you're getting round to like your second or third one, then yeah, you're talking nerves of steel. Because, well, what are you doing? You're going to go the right way, the same way, different way. If you get to your third penalty and you've already gone two down the line, two down to the left, you're going to go to the right on the next one. There's so many things. The goalkeepers are in an absolutely win-win scenario because at that point they're knowing all the pressure is well and truly on the shooter. I think club football there are two penalty shootouts that got into the 50s as well. Um, I think there was 56 penalties between Dimona and Tel Aviv. And then I think there's a non-league one in the UK. I can't remember the teams for those ones, but that's a pop that's one that would turn up in a trivia quiz. I think there was 54 in that one, and they finished 25-24. So yeah, you've got that extreme, and then you've got the other extreme where you get low scoring penalty shootouts. The lowest one I remember finished 2-0. FA Cup, Liverpool, Birmingham, third round replay,
Yeah.
finished 1-1, and the penalty shootout finished 2-0 to Liverpool. I think 4 or 5 players missed the kicks,
Mhm.
and only Jamie Redknapp scored.
Mhm.
And then the player with the best name in football. Who is that player, Tatan?
Why don't we let the viewers comment on that below? And let's see if anyone can remember and respond in the comments. That's one for next week.
Oh, we'll leave
Okay.
it there. Okay then. Cliffhanger.
Now that's all we have time for today. So until the next time, keep the faith and please like and subscribe to our channels on various social media and get involved there if you're so inclined. Please answer Mark's question above if you can. We are back sometime next week with more TMTG goodness during Christmas week, no less. Till the next time, until all are one.